Hello, friends. My name is Dane Miller.
And I'm Niall Spain. And we are your fuck buddies.
We're doing it. Now, if we can make this quick, this is digging really into my Final Fantasy VII Remake time.
You know what? We actually have a guest today, so you don't even need to be here. You can just go back to Final Fantasy.
That's all you need to tell me, man.
We got it.
Because I've stopped playing for all of 2 minutes, and I'm getting twitchy. I need to get my materia fix.
I still have never played a Final Fantasy game in my life, and it will remain that way.
No, it's so good. I can't get over how much, I don't know if you've ever seen the original Final Fantasy VII, but it's...
No, I just told you. I literally just told you. I've never played or seen, or I don't even know what it is. What the fuck's materia? Are you just...
I've never eaten Taco Bell. I still know what it is.
You've never eaten Taco Bell?
No, I've never had Taco Bell in my life.
Never had Mountain Dew Baja Blast?
Nope.
That salty beverage?
Nope, I've never eaten Taco Bell, but I still know what they serve.
I don't think I've ever had Taco Bell either, so... Well, I'm not from here, so I have an excuse.
Whatever.
I guess I spoiled the surprise. We have a guest this week.
We do have a guest this week.
Which, do we introduce them next? We're about to in a few minutes, so...
Yeah, we'll do it in 2 seconds.
Deal with it, guys. It's exciting. Well, I think what we should do is... And this is based on the advice of a review we got.
Oh shit! I totally fucking meant to do this. God damn it! We're a dating and sex advice podcast where we take your sticky, sexy situations and turn them into sexy, sticky situations.
Which, in layman's terms, means we're just we answer questions that we either find on Reddit or get submitted into the podcast of a sexual / dating / advice format.
Yes. Yeah. If you have, we answer the questions that the world puts out. And we hopefully are trying to make this world a sexier, happier, healthier place.
That's the plan. And thank you, Nick Weaver, for your review. But we'll give you a proper thanks at the end.
So should we get our sexpert on the line?
Yeah. Let's give her a call, see if she's there.
Let's do it. So this week we are being joined by our very first official sexpert to the podcast, and Niall and I have been moonlighting and faking it, but now we have a real life, honest to God, sexpert. She has been in and written articles for New York Times, Washington Post, Vice, Playboy. She's been the editor for Teen Vogue, Vice, and Complex. She's triple majored at Brown University for cognitive neuroscience, gender and sexuality studies, and modern culture media. So it is with great pleasure we introduce Suzannah Weiss.
Hi.
Hey,
hello.
Welcome in.
Thanks.
Did we miss anything?
No, not really.
I was going to say,
it's to mention that she was quoted by Whoopi Goldberg and is also verified on Twitter.
Those are the most important things.
Which I also do have questions. When did that happen? And what's the process for being verified?
Oh, the verification, I think it changed. I'm not sure what the process is right now.
Yeah, but when you got it?
It was really easy. I don't remember. I think I just had to describe why I deserve to be verified. So I just listed publications I'd written for and stuff.
Nice. And did you apply for that, or did they approach you, or how does it work?
You have to apply for it. At least that's how it was back in 2017 when I did it.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Yeah, I don't know. It's always just been one of those things I've wondered about. So thank you for enlightening me.
Yeah, I feel like at this point now, if you're not a superstar on TikTok, you can't be verified on Twitter. I think
TikTok is the number one way to get in.
Yeah.
Well, my friend showed me TikTok. I find it annoying. I don't get it.
I don't know really what it is. It's basically Vine.
Yeah, I downloaded it and thought I could do something for the podcast, and within 2 minutes, I was like, I'm over this.
I know so many people who've started TikTok since all the isolation, and it's kind of hilarious.
So one thing I forgot to mention is your area of expertise is you've written a lot of articles about the female orgasm and the orgasm gap, and we have a bunch of questions for you to do, sort of deep dive into your expertise and your infinite wisdom about this. Are you ready to answer a few questions?
Sure.
All right. Niall, do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
I'm easy.
Okay, I feel like you have more, so I'll let you go first.
So this one is from Reddit. And it was one actually I had a while ago I was going to bring to the podcast, but then once you showed up on our radar, I felt like it was more appropriate. So this is by user ThrowRA Trash Can. So it's by a 24-year-old female whose 25-year-old boyfriend is inconsistent in bed and is starting to bother her. And she says, 50% of the time, we have mind-blowing sex, and I can orgasm 2 or 3 times. No man has ever done that for me. But then the other 50% of the times we meet are terrible, and I'm left unsatisfied. I don't know what's wrong. It's like as soon as he makes me orgasm, he taps out. His job is done, and he can take it easy every other day. That's wrong. I know I'm greedy, but I want to orgasm every time we have sex. Why should 50% of our sexual encounters be unsatisfying? Of course, he doesn't mind. He orgasms every time and doesn't seem to care. I want to have an orgasm too. He plays stupid whenever I confront him about it. I don't know what to do and how to get him to satisfy me 100% of the time. Am I being greedy? Am I being inconsiderate? I just love being dazed after a good sex session with him. I'm always, after a good one, left barely capable of walking, and it makes the rest of my day amazing. Looking forward to another one when we get home. It's like nothing can bother me. But when we have bad sex, the rest of my day feels like shit.
Wow. I
Yeah.
don't know what's wrong with him. Why wouldn't he want that every time? I don't know. She says she's already confronted him and he plays dumb. That's tough because I don't know what she's telling him. I guess if she wants to try again, my advice would be to talk to him. My advice would be to focus on what she said about how good it is half the time, because positive reinforcement can help somebody if maybe he feels insecure. If she says like, hey, we have bad sex half the time, then that wouldn't be the best way to approach it.
Yeah.
But if she's like, oh, it's so good when you do this, could we do it that way more often? That would probably be the best way to approach that. If she's already done that, I don't know. I feel like this guy sounds maybe like he's insecure or like I don't know what his deal is, but I feel like that might indicate qualities that should make her reconsider the relationship if he really won't listen if she approaches it in a good way. Yeah, and it's definitely not greedy to want an orgasm every time you have sex, especially if your partner is having one.
Exactly. I think
Yeah.
that's probably one of the main things that like kind of breaks my heart about this question is like you can tell she's already doubting whether she should even ask for this stuff. And I think like if anyone out there ever thinks that, it's really important to know that you are not greedy or inconsiderate for wanting, like, everyone's orgasm matters. Your partner's doesn't matter more than yours. Like, that's something you definitely need to realize.
It's been like 60 years since the sexual revolution. It's like we're all on the same page with the fact that like everyone's entitled to an orgasm. If you're having a sexual relationship, everyone should be benefiting from it. I would like, my big question for this guy is, what is he doing to play dumb? Like, how does that conversation go out where it's like, hey, I would like, let's increase our sexual compatibility a little bit more. And like, what move do you pull to play dumb on that?
Yeah, and also the fact that like if sometimes are so good, like he clearly knows what he's doing, which is the weirder part because it seems like the other times are intentional. Like he's actively not getting her off. And I don't know why that would be.
The only thing I can think of is maybe it's a matter of like mismatched libidos. Like maybe she wants sex a lot more than he does, and he is sort of he's having sex out of duty, and therefore isn't like entirely committed to the act.
That's possible.
It could also be that he has some insecurity he's not talking about. Like maybe, I don't know, if he focuses on her, then maybe it's hard for him to finish or something that he's afraid to talk about. So he just doesn't say anything.
Yeah. That's the thing. It sounds like this person clearly, like if they were confident, they would be able to have this conversation without playing dumb and like avoiding. And, I doubt this would be an issue. Although I do worry that because the girl has said that she herself, like she seems unsure as to whether she's even allowed to ask for this. I worry that the conversation wasn't as forward as it maybe needed to be. But it's kind of hard to tell without any more details, right?
You could also maybe focus on how it makes her feel. Like if she says like, this makes me feel like your needs are more important than mine, then maybe that would get through to him.
Yeah, I think what you said initially is like one of the most important parts of this is that when this conversation comes up, like focusing on the positives, like we have really good sex half the time. or we have a lot of really good sex is more important than saying we have bad sex half the time. Like that one's definitely a really strong takeaway.
Yeah, doing a check-in afterwards, you know what I mean? Like, once you have that, like, sort of ground-shaking, life-changing sex, reinforce and be like, that was fucking amazing. Like, that was really good. And then the next time it doesn't happen, maybe check in afterwards and be like, hey, are you okay? Like, it just felt a little off today. Like, is everything all right? And that might open the door for a further conversation to be like, well, actually, this is going on, or this is happening, or I didn't feel this.
Mm-hmm. Or even if it's like a specific thing they do after one of the good times, be like, oh shit, I love it when you do that, And then next time, if they're not, you can always be like, hey, can you do that thing again?
Mm-hmm.
It's strange to me. Like, I don't understand if I was able to consistently provide that kind of sexual pleasure, like, there's no better feeling than like being, a quote unquote sex god in your relationship, like feeling like you're doing your partner sexual justice. Like, that's the best feeling in the world.
Yeah, I don't see why you would ever willingly not do that.
Yeah.
Unless it's some kind of like power play thing. Like, this guy could just be an asshole. I don't know. Hopefully not.
But I think what Suzannah said was correct. It's you have to talk about it again, and lay it on the line. Be like, this is important to me. This is how it makes me feel, and I would like to work on a way to get our sexual relationship where it's this level of consistency.
Yeah, keep it positive and remember that you are 100% entitled to having an orgasm.
Yeah. And let him know, I don't know, that you're open to hearing whatever his concerns are, because it's possible he has some insecurity or something that he's afraid to talk about, and that's why he's playing dumb.
Yeah, that's very true. Because I think a lot of the time when there are sexual issues, it stems from insecurity, because sex is such a personal kind of like scary thing for a lot of people. So, well, it's for everybody, but it affects some people like really badly. So, all right, will we hit the next one?
Hell yeah, we will. This comes from one of our listeners. She would like to be known as Agent Firefly. Ever since my boyfriend and I started sleeping together, he's been fixated on giving me vaginal orgasms. While it's possible, they tend to be inconsistent and wildly dependent on different circumstances that even I can't predict. So when they happen, they just happen, and sometimes they don't. Which is fine, because I actually prefer clitoral orgasms. My boyfriend is a wizard when it comes to oral, so literally every time we have sex, I get multiple clitoral orgasms. However, if he can't deliver a vaginal orgasm during sex, he gets disappointed and is convinced he doesn't satisfy me. How do I convince him that if I get a clitoral orgasm, I've gotten all I need, and vaginal orgasms are just cherries on top?
Well, if you haven't already, make it known that this is a normal thing for you, that it's not just with him, but in general with past partners, that this is how your body works. Mm-hmm. If you want to like orgasm during intercourse, you could have him touch your clitoris at the same time, or do that yourself, or use a toy. But if that's really about his desires and not yours, then just maybe explain to him in detail why you like the clitoral orgasms better and why they're so great, and how your body just in general doesn't have vaginal orgasms consistently, and it's really not about him, and like how much you love intercourse even without one, and how great his penis is, or whatever will make
Never hurts to say that.
If he doesn't listen to that, then maybe talk about how it makes you feel when he's so fixated on that, then it gives you this pressure and you feel like you're inadequate. And then maybe he'll be able to look outside his own ego.
I mean, that's a really great point, where you're saying that like his inadequacies or his insecurities about feeling inadequate delivering this vaginal orgasm that he's fixated on ultimately like turns it around, and now all of a sudden she now feels inadequate because she can't have one.
And it's ironic, because you imagine that he is so fixated on a vaginal orgasm because I think he expects that that's what she wants / needs. But the irony is that he's focusing so much on this thing that he's not focusing on her anymore. So in trying to focus more on her, he's doing the complete opposite. And I do think a lot of guys are weirdly like focused on the fact that like if it doesn't happen because of their dick, it doesn't count almost. You know what I mean? Like if you make someone come with your fingers or your tongue, it doesn't have as much weight because you're not using your fucking penis to do it. And I think a lot of that, I don't know whether it just stems from like porn, where there's all these like really unrealistic depictions of like, it's just fucking. There's little to no clitoral stimulation, and it's, it's all about the dick. And I think people need to realize that is, a lot of, I think like most women orgasm, if not solely from clitoral stimulation, then the majority of it, or like the easiest way they do it, is from clitoral stimulation. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, she could even give him a statistic that only a quarter of women consistently orgasm through intercourse.
Yeah. And like knowing that, it's unfair to try and like throw that metric on your partner and be like, well, you have to be in the 25%, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you could throw it around and be like, well, 25% of men have penises X large. Be like, well, why aren't you that big?
Yeah, and that would also be super unfair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like what you said about like making sure they realize how good clitoral orgasms are is a very important thing, because like as someone who doesn't have a clit in the vagina, it's sometimes hard to differentiate, or not differentiate, but you know what I mean? Like to put it in perspective and realize that like you can have orgasms different ways, and some can be like really good and some cannot happen as reliably or whatever. It's pretty simple being a guy. You just have a dick necessarily. Obviously there's like, the prostate and all that, but in the general course of like media and everything, people are used to just kind of like that one typical way of like orgasming. So I think it's easy to just think really like simplistically as a guy.
I want to bring this up because as a podcast that's hosted by two cis hetero men who don't have anything other than a penis,
Nothing
would
else.
your
No arms, no butt.
Yeah, we're literally just dicks here. Would you be able to, if your expertise allows it, to sort of tell us the difference between a clitoral and a vaginal orgasm, and sort of like lay out sort of the differences between the two, and why it's important not to fixate on one or the other?
Well, that's actually highly individual. I did an article about this where I asked women difference, and they said completely opposite things. Like some said clitoral is more intense, some said vaginal is more intense. Like some said clitoral lasts longer, some say vaginal lasts longer. So it really depends on the person. There are a fair amount of women who say that clitoral is more intense. But there are also some who say the opposite. So it really depends on the person. And it's hard to separate out clitoral versus vaginal, because vaginal comes from the inner clitoris. So it's really all clitoral. It's just maybe the route of the stimulation.
Yeah, I think another way to maybe get past this is like introduce clitoral stimulation while you're like fucking. Like there are a lot of positions that make that like quite easily, like doggy style. If you can get like a solid base, it's easy to like wrap a hand around. If you're like side by side, like spooning, or like there's so many ways you can do this, and then he probably won't feel as like insecure then, because if you're coming while he's fucking you, hopefully he won't be stopping to be like, whoa, which one was it? And like I think that'll help him to differentiate between, because I'm sure if he feels that he's giving you pleasure orally, that's oral sex. And then when he's having sex, it's like he can't make you come during sex. So I think that's probably where his insecurities stem from. So mix them up, like do both at the same time. Not oral and sex, but
I was going to say, well,
clitoral stimulation and sex. If you could do oral and sex at the same time, that would be great, but probably not possible.
You literally don't have a torso.
Yes.
Oh, now I can't stop picturing a person who is just like
a snake.
Yeah, or like their hips or their shoulders. It's fucking freaking me out. And I think that's our cue to get out of this question.
All right, I'll hit us up with the next one. So this is by another listener. So this is Agent Artemis, and it is a 23-year-old male who's been dating a 22-year-old female. I've been dating my girlfriend for 7 months, and despite trying, we have never had sex. She was a virgin when we met and had never had any sexual contact with anyone, oral, hands, etc. While we have engaged in all these things, we have had trouble having sex as her vagina is too tight. We still have plenty of other sexual contact, and I am very satisfied, but she really wants to have sex and gets frustrated whenever we try and cannot. It honestly does not matter much to me, as I love spending time with her and I'm sexually satisfied in the relationship, but it makes her frustrated and sad. I feel that may be a psychological issue, so I try as often as I can to reassure her that it doesn't matter to me and I love her anyway, but she's still sad and frustrated by the situation. Do you guys know what is happening or anything that I can do to help?
Wow, I would say first thing, I mean, if she wants to be able to have intercourse, I would say go to a doctor and or a pelvic floor physical therapist because it
Mhm.
sounds like there may be some sort of medical issue or like just a tightness going on there. So it seems like the question is twofold. I feel like that deserves attention because that usually indicates some sort of underlying condition. It could also be psychological, but I would say like look into the physical possibilities. The other part of the question seems to be just about reassuring her that it's okay not to have intercourse, which, well, if she wants to, then that's valid. But I
Mhm.
don't know, just it sounds like he's already doing it, just telling her how much he loves the other stuff they've done, why he loves it. If he were to give her, I don't know if he has, but just like give her specific instructions on like other ways to please him, then she would feel like she was giving him something he needed. Um,
That's a good point.
and just, yeah, letting her know that he knows it's not her fault and that, he's happy to support her and getting to the bottom of the issue. I don't know. It sounds like they are doing foreplay, but sometimes if it seems too tight, it's because there's not enough foreplay or because she's not relaxed. But
Mhm.
it also sounds like there might be something like a little more physical going on.
So definitely like apply to pelvic floor like expert or see some kind of doctor just in case there is kind of a more physical underlying issue there. Um, and on the other side, work on kind of the mental aspect. I think like as a guy, like he should definitely be supportive in like you don't want to be too hands off in terms of like no, it's okay, so that you're not supporting her quest to be able to. But you also don't want to support the fact that she wants to be able to the point where she feels pressured.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like he's fine not doing that, but if she wants to, then that's a goal he should support her in.
Mhm.
And it's also worth mentioning because we've talked about it a lot, especially recently. In the idea that like virginity is a commodity and like anything more than just sort of a social construct that is far outdated and pointless at this point.
Yeah, it's bullshit.
It's like maybe have the conversation of being like, are you obsessed about, or are you driven to lose your virginity for the sake of like losing the title, or
Mhm.
is it an actual desire you want to further our sexual relationship? Because if it's one of those things where it's like you find out that her friends have all lost their virginity and you are now, and she's now just trying to do it, that can lead to a bunch of unnecessary stress in an already potentially, as you mentioned, physical or medical situation that really neither of them have much control over until they get help.
Yeah, and it's definitely going to play into the psychological aspects as well. And I feel like as a 22-year-old, like there's no way that's not in your mind at some point anyway. Like when you hear all your friends in university are losing their virginities and you see like on TV, everything is kind of focused on having sex, that there's no way you can't help but feel like betrayed by your body or like left behind kind of in everyone else's dust and probably embarrassed about it. So I think that would definitely play into it.
Yeah, I mean, it's also a valid desire to have, though.
No,
Yeah,
totally.
absolutely.
Yeah, it's good to start from like, rather than from feeling like something's wrong, like focusing on what's good about your sex life and then wanting to try more things.
Yeah.
This comes from Agent Sinatra. Uh, my boyfriend and I have amazing sex. For some reason, the only way I can fully climax is so I'm very vocal. I'm not screaming by any means, but I'm certainly not quiet. He used to live alone, but recently had to move and now has roommates. They've complained about the noise, and I totally get it, but if I stay silent, I just cannot come. How can I not piss off my boyfriend's roommates while still getting off?
Wait, what's her living situation that they can't have sex at her
Good
place?
question.
I don't know. I think she also has roommates, and I think it's one of those things where like I think it goes either way. Um, She didn't mention, but I am friends with her, and I believe they used to use her boyfriend's place. Like she pretty much lived at her boyfriend's place, and didn't really spend a whole lot of time at her apartment. And I think it was for that reason.
Also,
Wait,
her roommates might just be used to her, so maybe it's only an issue when they're at his.
have the roommates specifically complained?
His boyfriend roommates have, yes.
Oof, that's tough. Maybe like sometimes when they're out, I don't know, get a white noise machine.
Apparently, you can soundproof a room using egg cartons, so there's that. Just eat a lot of eggs.
Yeah, I would say the like best bet is to find some time when like schedule specific times when they'll be out of the apartment and focus on having sex then. I don't know, are the complaints like that it's disturbing them or that it just makes them uncomfortable?
I think it might be a time of day where it happens. I think it probably happens a lot at night and late at night.
I used
I
to
mean,
live with someone who had the loudest, like just loudest sexual partner known to probably humanity. I can't imagine the human body can actually get much louder than that, and it sucked. So I get where they're coming from.
I mean, what if she like screamed into a pillow, like put a pillow over her mouth, or I don't know if he covered her mouth so she can like still make noise, but it won't reverberate as much.
That's what I'm wondering. Like, is it the like act of like release, like the using your lungs and like actually like getting into it, not so much as the noise coming out? Because there are gags and hands and pillows and stuff that you could use.
Yeah, that was
Safely,
my.
hopefully.
I was like, maybe in take the time to see if you're into ball gags and stuff like that.
Yeah, it could even like be a kink.
Yeah, and then you might have two birds, one stone, or two birds, one ball gag.
Yeah, you can figure out again. Like maybe you can turn it in the way that like if he's depriving you of that release, like that is also a social or a sexual trigger for a lot of people. So like maybe if he's telling you not to be loud, you know what I mean? If he takes that away, there might be some sort of sexual tension that you can offset. I'm not sure. I would also like to know if it's the volume, like Niall was saying, because if it's just you feel the need, like you can turn it into like a quiet, dirty talk, or you know what I mean, like get his ear and just say filthy things. If it's just the act of being vocal, but if you do need to scream, then it's your options are limited. I think.
I think maybe the Band-Aid approach is warranted here. So the way when you're tearing off a Band-Aid, you just rip it off in one quick motion. You don't slowly peel it off. So save up all your screams into one super scream, but then you're only bothering your roommates for like 2 seconds. And yeah, it's going to be twice or 3 times as bad, but it's only going to be 2 seconds long.
Yeah, it'll just be a haunting scream that they'll hear for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
She could probably train herself to orgasm without making noise. Often we think we can't, but I mean, she could experiment with masturbating and not making noise. And I bet that she actually could. Maybe it will take more stimulation or more time, but they could make a game of it just to try to see like how much it will take for her to. They could even try to like have her hold back and just like, I don't know, use a vibrator or whatever. I bet that she actually wouldn't be able to hold it back after a certain point.
Well, you actually raise a really good point here because like when I masturbate versus when I'm having sex, like I'm definitely a lot more vocal during sex, like because I pretty much don't make any noise when I'm masturbating. So it's like, does she scream like this when she's masturbating? Because if not, then I'm sure she's able to get off without it.
Yeah, I think she could. I think they could make a game of it, see how much it takes for her to orgasm without making noise.
Yeah, like that's a really good point. You can make it fun and just be like, I'm going to keep going. Like you can try to not orgasm, that's fine, but I'm going to do the things you love and you just can't make any noise. And at one point, I'm sure it'll come through, literally.
Yeah, I mean, like I literally have done this. I used to have a very loud sexual partner, and I had the people above me write a letter to my landlord, and then got the world's most like awkward, uncomfortable text from my landlord, being like, There have been adult activities that are too loud.
I'll bet he loved writing that email.
Yeah, it was great. And literally what we would do is just be like, if you make a noise, I'm going to stop. You know what I mean? And we played that game where it was just like, you find a way to tease and be like, make a noise and it's over. And it's a fun way to like bring a new dynamic to your relationship. And some people aren't into it, but hopefully if you're cool with screaming your guts out while your roommates are home, I'm assuming you're probably open sexually enough to, give something else a try.
Mm-hmm. Also, like, I'm imagining this is a temporary problem. And what I'm sure is that all of a sudden she's out of her own head during sex. Like, she's thinking about his roommates. And, once you get that noise complaint, all of a sudden every noise you make becomes like the bed creaks, you moan, you do anything. It's always kind of in your head. So it takes you out of the moment. And on top of that, like, you then are thinking so much about, you're not acting naturally because you're trying to like control what you're doing. So that also takes you out. So I'm sure all these things result in a less than satisfactory sexual experience, but it's probably just the newness and the awkwardness. Whereas if you really start to like get used to being quiet, it'll probably get better.
Yeah, when we do things the same way a lot, we train our brains to orgasm in a certain way. But like, you can form new habits just through practice.
Well, good luck, guys. And also, you could just buy them earplugs if you want to get passive aggressive about it.
Get them really, really nice noise canceling headphones and just be like, here you go, guys. It's a little quarantine present for you.
Take up a noisy hobby and then record yourself doing that noisy hobby and play it through your speakers when you want to fuck, and they won't know which one's which. All right, we'll do another one here?
You've got another one. Yeah, you got another, right?
Yeah. Okay, well, this is from another user. This is by Agent Stark. Why do I feel like I need to shit during sex sometimes? And that's it.
That is tough to evaluate without being a doctor or seeing. I would say go to a doctor or a pelvic floor therapist or both. Maybe some muscles are being pressed on. That's really hard to figure out just from that question alone. I mean, is it anal sex that's happening?
No, it's just like vaginal. But I know it is when they're on their back, more so than any other position.
Wait, how do you know that?
Oh, they told me. Sorry, I asked them to clarify just in case there was, some important noise, but they said it.
Is this a man or a woman?
A woman.
Okay. That is something that I feel like a professional would have to evaluate. It sounds like maybe some sort of pelvic floor issue. Go to a doctor or a pelvic floor physical therapist for that one.
Yeah, I had absolutely no answer for this one. So I was like, yeah, this someone else will know more than me.
And that person will be a doctor, it seems like.
Yep, fair enough.
Could be an issue with the position. I mean, maybe is it a penis or dildo or what's being used?
I believe it's a penis.
Yeah, maybe just the angle is penetrating too much downward. Maybe try a position where they're aimed more up.
Fair.
Yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily a medical issue. It could just be the way that she's built, and you just need to, try different positions. But seeing an expert probably couldn't hurt.
Fair.
If it's happening like one specific position, I think maybe avoiding that position, or you, like Suzannah says, try sticking a pillow underneath you to see if you can maybe elevate your hips in a different position so that your bowels, I guess, aren't getting thrashed.
Yeah. Thrashed. Ooh. Should I pop onto? I think this is my last one. Do you have another?
Let's do it. I don't.
Yeah, it's kind of similar, but not necessarily to stuff we did earlier. So this one is also from Reddit, and it is by user Cozy Cardboard Castles. It's a nice name. I have a higher libido. I find myself pursuing my boyfriend more than he does me. He says things like, "Why are you always horny? We just had sex 4 hours ago." And we can do other activities and things besides sex during the day. I think the issue is I rarely ever orgasm during sex. Once he comes, it's kind of like, that's it. And we cuddle for a bit. And I usually finish myself off with a toy while he's in the shower. Toys are cool and all, but it's not the same. How would you suggest having this conversation nicely and suggesting that I need more? I love having sex with him, don't get me wrong, but I feel like I need more.
Okay, so there are two issues there. One is he's kind of shaming her for her sex drive, which
Right?
isn't cool. Especially if the reason it's coming about is due to his own lack of effort.
Yeah.
So that's something that she might want to address with him separately, just to say, I don't want to pressure you into anything, but also it doesn't feel good to be told that, like, I'm overly horny. Secondly, it sounds like there needs to be a conversation about him paying more attention to her. She can just say, I would really like for you to, whatever it is that she needs to orgasm, to, provide more foreplay, to touch my clitoris during sex, or ask how he would feel about bringing a toy into the bedroom. And he should be receptive to that. Otherwise, that's maybe a test of his maturity and his
Mhm.
their compatibility.
Yeah, I think that was like one of the things that made me saddest about this question is that she uses a toy when he's gone. Like it's almost like it's this hidden thing. Like once he's out, then like there's no like he's not even there for it. It's like his hidden thing, which I'm imagining either speaks to the fact that he doesn't want to see or know about it, or the fact that she's ashamed to kind of bring it up in front of him. Neither of which is healthy.
Yeah, I don't know which one it is, but either way, if he's a good partner, he should want to somehow be a part of her pleasure, whether that's pleasing her himself, using the toy on her, just like being there and touching her while she uses the toy or touches herself.
Hmm.
Yeah, there's something wrong if she feels the need to hide it from him, because that's a perfectly normal desire to want to orgasm when you have sex.
Yep.
Um, so either way, whatever method they use, she shouldn't feel the need to do it alone.
Yeah. No, totally. I guess like similar to the other question is like there's nothing wrong with wanting to have an orgasm or wanting to be equal sexual partners. Like there's absolutely nothing whatsoever wrong with that. And also similar to the other question, like start with the positive. You say you love having sex with this person, so like lead with that.
Rather than saying the negative, like, I don't orgasm, you don't do this, just focus on what you would like.
Now this question is about not orgasming, and
Not what?
well, yeah, I know I had a hard time saying that. And you've written a number of articles about orgasming. Do you have any before we leave? Do you have any final parting wisdoms to tell our audience about the female orgasm, or women who are struggling to have them? Do you have anything you would like to impart to them?
Yeah, I would say my best advice is, it's often about being in your body, and there are a number of ways to do that. Just focusing on, before you even start sexual activity, just like touching each other, cuddling, touching each other above the waist, breast stimulation, things like that, just to get you into your body. And then the orgasms naturally flow, rather than having to like feel like you're aiming toward that goal. Um, my other like biggest piece of advice is to just don't worry about being bossy and giving instructions. The more specific you are, the better. Don't worry about like offending someone, because you're actually giving them the tools to please you. And then ultimately that's good for their ego. So don't feel bad about speaking up for what you want.
Yeah, I feel like if anybody is insecure, then if you're giving them like this feedback and this advice, like if they take it, then that's going to help assuage their insecurity. And if they're not at the level where they can take that and they get upset or freak out, then it's probably an indication that you shouldn't date them or sleep with them.
Well, thank you very much, Suzannah, for taking time out of your day to join us and to share your wisdom. It means a lot to have different voices and opinions on our show, and you have brought a level of knowledge and wisdom of the female body that Niall and I can't rightfully do as men. So, thank you very much for taking the time and talking to us today.
Yeah, I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you have anything you would like to talk about before we say goodbye, or where people can find you, or where to find your work?
Yeah, sure. Best place to find me and my work is Twitter. My Twitter account is Suzannah Weiss, SUZANNAHWEISS. Or Instagram, it's the reverse, Weiss Suzannah, WEISS SUZANNAH. Also,
Perfect. And we will. Oh,
I
sorry. Go
do
ahead.
sex coaching. So you can, if you're interested in getting personal sex advice from me, you can email me. My email's on my Twitter.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, there you go. So if you've enjoyed Susanna's wisdom, and you would like to get a little more in depth and a little more personal, hit her up. She's an expert and she will help you. And we will also supply all the links and everything to find Susanna on the various social medias in the episode description and on our social media as well when this releases.
Yep.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, appreciate you coming on.
So thank you very much for listening. We're trying to do our best to make the best out of the worst situation that is the current unpleasantness, and that means we're gonna have a few more guests on the show because we're recording remotely anyway. So we don't have to force someone into our sweaty boy closet. Thank you very much for listening. It means a lot to us that you're sticking with us. We're doing our best, as we've mentioned before in the past weeks, to give you a little bit of normalcy, to make your Monday feel like a normal Monday just by showing up. If you have any questions for us, you can reach out to us on Facebook at FCK Buddies Podcast. You can find us on Twitter at FCK_Buddies. You can shoot us an email at fbuddiespodcast@gmail.com. And you can find us on the internet at fbuddiespodcast.com or plentyofbeef.ca.
Hell yeah. We've got a lot of thank yous this week, so bear with us.
Yeah.
Firstly, thank you to Josh Eagle and the Harvest Cities for their song Paper Stars. Thank you to the Regulators podcast, they're a podcast that rates podcasts, does reviews. So we got a very kind 4.5 out of 5 rating from them the other day. And that was very nice. They also gave us a slight bit of advice that we took earlier on the episode in explaining what we do. So you can find them at Regulators, REGURATERS, on Twitter, and they are great. On top of that, obviously, thank you to our incredible guest, Suzannah.
We were trying to figure out in our noggins how to record remote guests who don't have a setup like we do specifically for podcasts, and an amazing Reddit user named Lantern Knight pointed us towards Zencaster, which is an amazing podcast platform. If you're thinking of starting a podcast and you need a way to sort of record everyone all at once, it's a browser based setup. You don't have to download anything. You just invite each other to a call. Everyone gets shown up and it records everything all at once. And then when you're done, you can just export all the audio and edit it however you want. It is amazing. It's currently free to use during the current unpleasantness, and it's probably got a customer out of Nile and I can't say enough good things about it.
Yeah, it's been fucking great. And also, I know we did say like Susanna's details earlier, but I'm just going to repeat them because why not? So it's at Suzannah Weiss, SUZANNAHWEISS, and that's on Twitter, and then backwards for Instagram at Weiss Suzannah.
Yeah, it was nice to have a female voice on our show. It's been a while since we have, and it's always good to have different perspectives. As we said from the beginning, we try to make this a conversation, and it can't be that if it's just the same two voices every week.
Yeah,
so thank you again, Suzannah.
Especially also a voice so impressive, well learned, and lovely. So yeah,
she's definitely probably one of the smartest people we've ever talked to.
Oh god, yeah. Okay, should we move into the end game?
Okay, cool. Yeah, let's move into bad sex writing, baby.
All right, do you want a little short one?
Whatever's tickling your pickle today.
You know what? This one was here, and it's pretty terrible. So this is Norman Mailer, and it's from the book The Castle in the Forest. And here we go. You comfy?
Yep.
His mouth lathered with her sap. He turned around and embraced her face with all the passion of his own lips and face, ready at last to grind into her with the hound, to drive it into her piety.
That's got to be ugh.
Yeah, you know you're real cool when you call your dick the hound?
Hell yeah, because he's hunting pussy.
Oh, no, he's hunting piety, apparently. Also, he embraced her face with his face?
Hell yeah.
That's...
I'm pretty sure this thing is actually like a Cerberus or some sort of like chimera, and his dick is actually a hound.
Hey,
While
you know what?
his other face is like eating this woman.
It would make more sense. Also, like, have you ever gotten sap on your hands? It's like horrendously thick and sticky.
I think he's saying her sap as in like...
No, I know. But like to compare it to something that's so like it's almost like glue. Like it's really bad. I come from Ireland. There's trees everywhere, man. Sap is sticky as shit.
I'm sorry. Are you're talking to a Canadian about sap?
Yeah.
Really?
Not maple syrup, dude. Sap.
It's more or less the same shit.
Okay, wow.
And to finish off this delicious episode, I've got a little... I can't even say it's a palate cleanse anymore because we don't do Dan. It's just... This is just sort of like the, the period. Now it's comes from Pornhub user I see what they've done here. It comes from Pornhub user So Fucking Gay. And they say, man, if somebody sneaks into my house and grabs my dick without me knowing, they better be ready to fight. My name is Dane Miller.
And I'm Niall Spain. And in better news, still no Dan.
And we're your fuck buddies.